On behalf of the Parliament, the committee is conducting this inquiry into the 2021-22 budget estimates. Its aim is to scrutinise public administration and finance to improve outcomes for the Victorian community.
Why have we seen such a massive basically 60% cut to this portfolio?
What we have demonstrated throughout the pandemic, whether it was in the period of July to October last year, or in February, or in May, is that if there are shocks and events that require the investment of additional government support, then that government support is provided.
What about use of technology in trying to help reduce the backlog?
The ability to hold hearings remotely has certainly been critical in ensuring continued access to justice during the pandemic.
As you're aware, the West Australian Government recently introduced urgent legislation to stop police and any other government agencies accessing data through QR codes. Will the Victorian Government be doing likewise?
I don't think that we should be legislating. I think the courts would be best placed to make a determination, because at the end of the day, the courts can make determination on any form of warrants on any sorts of issues. It's really up to the courts to decide.
I was hoping you'd be able to explain for the committee how the Working for Victoria initiative has supported job seekers through the pandemic.
Funding for fully subsidised positions for 6-month duration. Some of them go for 12 months. Early on, there were a few that went, there was some that went for 3 months, and there are small that are not fully subsidised.
If a injecting room came into the CBD, would that change, or would that require you to enhance your policing levels?
Yes, it most probably will, yes.
For the committee's benefit, are you able to outline what benefits this funding will provide for high quality performance football in Victoria?
For two codes that have not been the recipients of large amounts of government support in the past, I think it's extremely exciting. So that project will see a purpose-built state-of-the-art state football centre alongside a state rugby union centre at the Bundoora campus. It will, I think, establish Latrobe Sports Park as one of the premier sports precincts in the nation.
Why has the appointment of a special investigator been delayed?
Good news for you, Mr O'Brien. Government has appointed a special investigator in recent days.
Are you announcing that right now, Attorney General?
Yeah, I can. Justice Nettle.
How convenient for you.
Justice Nettle has accepted this important role.
Who is it, sorry?
Justice Nettle, former High Court judge, very eminent.
Who will be staffing his office? Obviously $13.5 million over 4 years, is it?
The estimates has over 4 years.
Yep.
How and when will the special investigator start? What will the investigation involve?
For the benefit of the committee, a special investigator will investigate whether there is sufficient evidence to establish the commission of criminal offences connected with Victoria Police's use of Miss Gobbo as a human source.
These are small businesses, self-employed, they don't employ anyone else, they don't pay GST, they earn less than $70,000 a year. What employment support do you have for them?
So people in that category have been absolutely eligible for the Working for Victoria program, and I've met many people over the course of the last 12 months who have been able to access work while their business has been unable to operate.
Could you please explain how initiatives to fast-track Victoria's recovery from the 1920 Victorian bushfires will support recovery and rebuilding in East Gippsland and the North East?
Bushfire-affected communities will receive ongoing support with a $104.4 million funding package for a range of services and supports to help people rebuild their lives, livelihoods and communities.
Your government's justice policies, and in fact bail reforms, has actually resulted in a significantly higher number of prisoners on remand, poor prison performance and higher reoffending levels.
You would be well aware and have probably met with the same stakeholders that I have in relation to concerns about some of the impacts of bail on some vulnerable cohorts, and this is a matter that I'll continue to have conversations about, but again, I do not make any apologies for a system that has at its very centre community safety.
Can you talk about how Operation Ribbon, how it went in responding to an increase in family violence during this pandemic.
Members from the 31 family violence investigations units reached out to known victims and risk families and checked on the whereabouts and behaviour of perpetrators. So again, recognising that there's a problem, recognising that there are these issues, that there's a pattern of behaviour here, allocating the resources to tackle that has made a really important contribution.
The big end of that industry, the events industry, is treated one way, and anyone outside the big end of town is treated differently.
There are plenty of players at the top end who have suffered substantial loss because the large events that they support haven't been going ahead. If you look at the smaller end of the event sector, the best thing that we can do for them is to allow events to go ahead.
The current tests don't test for impairment, they test for whether THC, for example, is in your system. And I was wondering whether there's any new technologies being looked at or sourced to make sure that people who get infringements are actually impaired by drugs and don't just have drugs in their system, because I feel like that's an injustice if they're not actually impaired.
The advice that I am given is that anyone with presence of illegal drugs in their system is an impaired driver. Now, whether that's visibly impaired or not is a different matter, but that their reactions and their capacity is impaired.
We've got the windfall gains tax, we've got mental health levy, you've got increased stamp duty, we've got electric vehicle tax in this budget. I'm just asking whether the department, with respect to employment broadly, has done any modelling on what those impacts will be.
Recovery of employment has been incredibly strong to a point where one of the biggest challenges facing our business community is workforce shortage.
Budget paper 3 of page 305, which outlines several performance measures relating to the birth, deaths and marriages registration transactions.
I'd like to acknowledge that as restrictions were lifted, some Victorians had trouble in accessing callback services or emails to their inquiries. I recognise that the remote functioning caused longer wait times for our customers, and I'm certainly on the record of apologising for that inconvenience.